The truth about Meghan Markle's early years in Hollywood are being exposed, and she's not what you think she was. P-Dina, royal YouTube sensation, joins me now. P-Dina, Meghan Markle is so desperate to scrub the real woman with this absolute desire for international fame and an ambition which made it clear that she would do almost anything to get it. Key to that is, of course, these very personal relationships that she formed with many of the mainstream media players, both in the US and the UK, because she was so desperate to boost her image, to boost the TIG, to get invites to things. And I think it's really important, P-Dine, that we talk about this because at the moment, she's trying to present her former life as if she was some type of altruistic philanthropist, which we know is just rubbish. So what have you discovered?
Well, I think Megan is in a losing battle because there is a lot that is still going to come out about her. She definitely wants us to have a certain image of her, and she just doesn't want things that she's done in the past to come out. But I think when you have made a lot of people very angry, you have certainly shown no remorse towards some things that your father may have done that weren't a big deal at all. You try to paint a narrative of your life that is just not the truth. It's not realistic. And people want the truth to come out. And, I think Megan is hurting herself more than anything by not owning the ugly. Own it. If you done it, own it. And then there's no need for people to go back in to try to unravel certain things that you may have done. Just be truthful to your life. And I think it's a better story when you have had to struggle. I guess you would call it struggling, but she never really had to. She just wanted so much more and did so much more things that I think she may be now regretting. And that's just the reality. So own that. And because she hasn't wanted to do that, her truth is now for a lot of people, it's almost like a game. Let's find out what we can discover since she doesn't want to come out and own it, And that's the worst thing you can do. And that's what's going to bite Megan. The fact that she tries to paint these pretty pictures, paint a life of hardship and struggle, but want to do philanthropy now and all these good things. But if you had to do the ugly and the nasty in the past, that's just what it was, girl. Okay? Move on. And now I think she's going to find herself in some problems because I've heard some things, Dan, okay? I've heard some things.
Well, indeed, and it all depends who speaks out. I mean, I've had conversations with Lizzie Cundy, for example, who Meghan was very unwise to jettison, given that she used Lizzie in her early days in the United
Mhm.
Kingdom to try and find fame and build relations. But of course, she did the same thing with Piers Morgan too. She did the same thing with Millie McIntosh too. She
Yeah.
also, P. Dina, was before Harry, desperate to find a British man, and the people who were on her hit list included Max George from the boy band The Wanted, the professional footballer at the time, Ashley Cole, and Matt Cardle, the former X Factor winner. So I'll get to all of that. But I think it's also sometimes very instructive, and I thank Princess Carparkle for the work finding these. Just taking a close look at the way that she appeared in the media, P. Dina, because what it shows is that it's a very different Meghan Markle to the Meghan Markle that she has created today. So Princess Carparkle says, some Meghan Markle cringe for you all. She's an endless source of cringy awkwardness, so trust me, there's endless material. This was an exceptionally cringy interview with Craig Ferguson in 2013. She was giving bimbo and poor flirting skills. Can you imagine her like this in the Bloomberg interview? Says it might have been more entertaining. He sometimes did a bit at the end of an interview called Awkward Pause with his guests. Leave it to Meghan Markle to make it beyond awkward, like way beyond. Hard to watch, actually, and not funny at all. Pete Diner, to say she was being purposefully sexually provocative with Craig Ferguson is an understatement.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, I mean, you look at how she was dressed and the whole flirty and the moving in on that. I mean, Megan was so cringe in that, so embarrassing. And I watched the actual whole interview, Dan, and I can tell you the way she was going about, and you could tell she was in it to really show herself as a very, sexualized woman. Let's just say that. And she dressed that way, and she appears very, very loose in this interaction, and I just think it's very cringe.
It is. Then there was the Larry King interview. And this is not so much sexual, although there is a part of it that is, but it's more that she couldn't hide her annoyance from Patrick Adams. As Princess Carparkle puts it, she cannot hide her disdain and cannot stop with the mouth movements. I don't know who media trained her, but good God, she's not a fan of people talking that aren't her, and definitely hates sharing the spotlight. I mean, P-Dina, there's the real Meghan, right?
She looks so annoyed. And when I look at that, Dan, I just think that is the true Megan, because that's not her in her camera moment. So you think about who the true Megan is in this moment. I can only imagine how she's doing the same thing to Harry in moments when they're together. She is, I'm sure, so annoyed, irritated by this man at this point that it's really starting to come out the true colors of the relationship. That's what that piece revealed to me, what it means for this relationship right now, because that was a true off camera moment because she wasn't supposed to be the camera person, talking. She was looking at the person who's on camera. And the feeling and how irritated she was and annoyed, that's who the true Megan is right there. And Harry's getting that in this time, real time, I believe, right now.
Oh, yes, he is. But of course, it wouldn't be a Meghan Markle moment from back then without an uncomfortable, overly sexualized moment. As Princess Carparkle explains, Meghan Markle made Larry King and Patrick Adams so uncomfortable with this comment that after an awkward moment, they both pick up their glasses and drink simultaneously. She was trying to be flirty and cute, but it fell embarrassingly flat. They're both like, what? Get me my water. What did you make
Oh
of
my
it?
goodness, Megan, you just are too much. Yeah, I think Megan has this, it's like always there, this overly sexualized type of behavior. Like she completely went there. In this normal moment, she just had to go there. And once again, I think it just speaks to her personality because at that time we have to remember she was all go in that over sexualized moments in her life. I mean, she was ready for that. That's what she had to go off on while pursuing her career. It was all about overly sexualizing who you are as a woman because that's how you got attention. That's how you became relevant. That's how you made people really look at you and pay attention to you. And that's why she went there, because that's the image she wanted to portray. And that's why she thought about it and said what she said, because that's her mindset. Absolutely. I mean, Dan, I experienced it. I know that's just how it is for young women in the business. But Megan, it's very revealing, was all go to be that kind
Well,
of a
that's
woman
the thing.
in
This
this
is
position.
so this
Yeah.
is sort of the fundamental point that I'm making here, P. Dina. Like, this is not a woman who was a feminist, who was focused on philanthropy. This was a woman who was focused on finding a man. Now, I'm not actually being critical of that, but as you say, own it. But she hasn't. She has completely rewritten her story. Now, from all of my investigation, P. Dina, things really changed in 2013, because, of course, that is when there was the split from Trevor Engelson. And that split, as we know, from her first husband was utterly brutal. She posts back the ring. She makes it abundantly clear that she sees her career going in a different direction from her husband, who she's sort of dismissed as like a loser, which is completely unfair because, of course, he's very successful behind the scenes, P-Dina. But as Lizzie Cundy always told me, she had her eyes on the prize, and the prize was a famous man. But interestingly, P-Dina, because she's such an Anglophile, not an American famous man, but a British one. Where do you think that came from? Was it this obsession with the royal family? Because, of course, as we'll get into in just one moment, her sights were initially much, much lower in terms of celebrity status than Harry.
I think she always had her sights on getting into royalty. I mean, at one point, people were saying that William was the one she initially wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, Megan, we know, had that vision board. She was all go. This was her objective. And once again, I think it speaks to what's happening right now. The foundation of this marriage is not built on love. We just have to look at what her motives were before marriage to know that it's very superficial. Everything about this relationship is not built on love, commitment, and a desire to, be committed to something that's going to, off of the love that you say you have for this man. It's built on her, one, looking for a very wealthy man, a very famous man, and royalty. I think this because she knew it was going to be high profile. And that is the underlining foundation of what Megan has always wanted. And it points to what it is that the marriage is built on now. It's built on this superficial want of fame, wealth, and popularity. That's what it's built on. That's what the marriages with Harry is like right now as we speak. It's not built on love and wanting to, really support this man. This is why I think Harry looks so miserable now, because he knows he doesn't have the support that he needs to thrive and to build these relationships and to be like this prince who is doing good work. And, just look at his friends that have left him. Harry is living the life of someone that we know who is not living in a marriage that is built on love and commitment. And that's why his life is going downhill as we speak, because of the initial foundation of what Megan has always wanted. It is now showing its ugly head. And that's why we see Harry not doing well, because of what Megan wanted from the beginning. What Liz Cundy said was what Megan is now. And that is why Harry is so miserable.
Absolutely. And why this matters, P-Dina, because there will be some people who say, well, why does her past matter? But I'll tell you why. Because it shows you how she thinks, and it shows you how she's thinking now. Because as this is all starting to fall apart, trust me, if a better option comes along that is going to give her a life that she considers more comfortable, she will go for it. Because you are dealing with someone with that level of ambition. And P-Dina, it was actually back in 2019. And in some ways, I guess I find it frustrating that I still don't think people truly understand what Meghan was doing before she met Harry. When I discovered that actually her attempts to meet a British man had gone into overdrive. Obviously, yes, there was the public meeting that we knew about with Katie Hind, who was the sort of tabloid columnist from the People newspaper. We knew about the meeting with Piers Morgan, but I started to hear that there was so much more going on, and that Meghan had actually cast her net wide to find a celebrity man. And what's so interesting, P-Dina, is people assume that we were talking about an A-lister because, of course, she hit the jackpot with Prince Harry, but her sights were so much lower. So, of course, in that conversation with Katie Hind and also with Lizzie Cundy, she spoke a lot about Ashley Cole, who was very famous because of his relationship with Cheryl Cole at the time, a guy who she had cheated on. But there were others too. And I just want to take you through some of my reporting from that time, P-Dina, because again, I think it's sort of been lost in Meghan's history. So look at this. This was in May 2019 when I reveal that Meghan Markle had swapped messages with the X Factor's Matt Cardle and asked to meet just months before that Prince Harry romance. And It was an online relationship with Matt Cardle that happened in 2015. Meghan complimented the singer just before his award winning role in the West End musical Memphis. She was spending time in the UK. At that point, she was romantically linked to Ashley Cole too. And a source told me Matt followed Meghan initially in early 2015 because he thought she was a beautiful star from Suits. But he was stunned when she followed him immediately back and started messaging him. She said she was a big fan of his work. Matt couldn't believe that a Hollywood star like Meghan would even know who he was. So he was very flattered and they chatted a little bit online before she suggested meeting up. But then he met his girlfriend and knew it wasn't appropriate to keep talking to Meghan, so he ended up ghosting her. It felt like there could have been a connection, but the timing was wrong. He didn't reply to her last message. So at that point, P-Dina, I was like, okay, she was really on the hunt and she was casting a wide net.
She was really, really looking, wasn't she? I mean, this is a woman who shows what is important to her, and it hasn't changed. Harry is playing into just some of that desire that Meghan has always wanted. She was also, I think, linked to the chef, wasn't she, around the same time? I want to say. I think Meghan has been playing the field because the things that she wants, the things that give her the pleasure is that the power that she can get from attaching herself to certain kinds of men. And we can see Harry's power diminishing every day. Meghan hasn't changed who she is in her desire and her wants. And I think as we see Harry depleting in his power, his voice, it has diminished. That is showing, I believe, the world that Meghan is going to continue to look where she can get more power, more support to help her
Yeah.
profile because she's not able to do it on her own.
No,
Look how
indeed.
she's
And
faring now.
that's the chef, by the way, Corey
Yes, yes, Corey. Yes,
Vitello,
right, Corey.
which was around
Mhm.
about the same time. He was Canadian, of course. But what was also interesting, P-Dina, is that in her conversation with Katie Hind, if we just look at this here, she actually made it clear that she wasn't interested in non-British men. So she said of Meghan, this is Katie Hine, she asked me about British men. She confided that she had recently got divorced from her husband and now she was single and very much ready to mingle. I quizzed her about American men, but she didn't seem so keen on them. So it was very much this idea at the time that she wanted to find a British man. And so what was interesting is after I'd revealed that story about Matt Cardle, it turned out that she had cast the net even wider, P-Dina, to a lovely guy, actually, called Max George, who was a singer in the boy band The Wanted, but had also appeared in the US TV show Glee. And so just a few days later, I revealed that Meghan Markle was secretly messaging the boy band hunk, Max George from The Wanted, before she met Prince Harry. The Sun, because I was at The Sun at the time, revealed the pair swapped tweets, at around the same time as Meghan, as she was pursuing Matt Cardle. So this is what's so interesting. She had all of this with all of these men going on. This online friendship was on Twitter, and a source told me Meghan was reaching out to a number of celebrities in the UK as she spent more time there. Max was one of the biggest stars in pop music at the time, and they connected on Twitter. They swapped a few messages and had a lovely conversation, but in the end, nothing came of it. She met her husband soon after. Max had women reaching out to him all the time and didn't remember much about it until Meghan's relationship with Prince Harry. It was a nice friendship and he wishes her well, but he hasn't heard from her since Harry. And P-Dina, does it not pose the very significant question that very few people have been prepared to ask? Do you think Meghan Markle was even open to something romantic with Piers Morgan? I mean, he is obviously a happily married man with Celia Walden, but
Mm.
why did she go to meet him for that date at the pub?
I think any relationship that Meghan pursues is intended to be more than a friendship because she's trying to get something out of this relationship to help her. So, of course, in the beginning, she was meeting with Piers Morgan for, I believe, reasons beyond being friends. Of course, that's the intention. Why else meet with the man, right? She's using her sexuality to get what she wants. She's using her access to help her. And that's what she did. She had access to a man that she wanted to use to help, her own profile. I think this is why we're hearing now about just all these relationships that Meghan has had where she was seeking something to help her. These were not people that she fell in love with. It wasn't about a feeling. It was about the opportunity. And Meghan has done this essentially her whole life. I mean, you just have to go back to her mother's relationship. Her mother even talked about, having relationships to get what you can get from a man. That this is exactly what I believe Doria did for Thomas. This was a relationship built on what Doria could get from Thomas Markle. It wasn't built on love. It was about the opportunity, and this is why she was able to just throw him away so easily. Doria, when Meghan's celebrity came, because it was not built on love and commitment. And Meghan has learned from her mother. And so that's exactly what Meghan has been taught to do and what she did. And this is why where we are with Harry right now. This is why it's such a big deal with Meghan and her relationship with Harry, because we know the real situation with this marriage. Okay? So Meghan's history has given us insight into what we know and what we actually see with our own eyes today. Just look at Harry to know how Meghan has been with this man all these years and her true intentions.
Yes, indeed. And I think the Doria comparison is very interesting, P-Dina, too, because we know from Doria that just like Meghan, she was prepared to just erase entire chapters from her life and move on as if that never happened.
Absolutely. That gives you the information you need to know to really understand. You throw things away so easily because there's no real true connection there. And it's not built on something that you want people to believe it's built on. It's artificial. It's fake. I think that's why Meghan also comes off as being very fake and not real, because that's what her true personality is. She's creating something to get something. She's not coming in a real way. And so when she has these interviews like she did with Bloomberg and with Jamie Kerm-Lima, like we sense an inauthentic behavior. And that's why also I believe As Ever has not done well as well, because it's not real in terms of Meghan's personality. She comes off as trying to be something to get something. She's not there for the true connection and meaning, and she doesn't come off real. And that's what's hurting her because of how she's built this in the beginning with trying to get power from men. And that you can see it play over into her work. Even her acting doesn't come off as real because she's constantly trying to give a perception of something rather than truly feeling what it is to become a real person, to be very authentic in her behavior. I think it's good insight into everything that we see happening now. It
Yes,
all goes way back.
it really does.
What if everything Meghan Markle has told the world about herself, the struggling actress, the humanitarian, the woman who gave up everything for love, was carefully constructed years before Harry ever entered the picture? Because Dan and P-Dina just blew the lid off something that the palace watchers and royal reporters have danced around for years. And once you hear this, you cannot unhear it. Let's start with the headline. Meghan Markle sought out Piers Morgan. She pursued him. She sat across from one of the most powerful media personalities in Britain, smiled, charmed, and worked the room. And the reason wasn't friendship. It wasn't admiration. According to what's now being exposed, she wanted a romance. She was shopping for a powerful media connection and wrapping it in something personal. Now think about what that tells us about who Meghan Markle actually was before Harry. Because the story she sells, the wide-eyed American girl swept off her feet by a prince, doesn't match a woman who is coldly, strategically navigating the most well-connected circles in British media years before she ever stepped foot in the royal family. This was not an accident. This was auditions. Here's what Hollywood insiders knew that the public didn't. Meghan Markle was not a romantic. She was a planner. The image she cultivated, the girl boss, the half-black actress breaking barriers, was always just one layer of a much more complex operation. The early Hollywood years tell a story of someone who understood exactly how power works. You don't get close to powerful men because you find them fascinating. You get close to them because proximity to power is power. And Piers Morgan wasn't just a celebrity. He was a gateway to British media, a gateway to relevance on a global scale that Suits was never going to give her. P-Dina and Dan are right to call this out, because the mainstream media absolutely refuses to connect these dots. They're too busy running Meghan's preferred narrative: the victim, the outsider, the woman the palace tried to crush. But victims don't strategically pursue media titans for romance. That's not vulnerability. That's ambition wearing a costume. Strip away the Netflix documentaries. Strip away the Oprah interview. Strip away the carefully lit Instagram aesthetic and the humanitarian branding. What are you left with? A woman who knew, from a very early age, that she needed to attach herself to the most powerful man available, and she had the patience and the tactical intelligence to wait until she found the right one. Piers Morgan was, by her own actions, an early target. Harry was the ultimate prize. And that's not a love story. That's a campaign. The cruelest irony here? She calls herself a feminist icon. But every major move she has made in her adult life has been defined by which man she could leverage for the next level of access. That's not feminism. That's a playbook as old as Hollywood itself, and she's been running it since before most people had even heard her name. Here's the question that nobody in mainstream media has the courage to ask out loud. If Meghan was strategically pursuing powerful media figures for romance before Harry, if this pattern was visible to people who knew her in Hollywood, then what does that say about the courtship with Harry himself? Was it love? Or was it simply the best edition of her career? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this story is far from over, and the next revelation might be the one that finally makes even her most loyal supporters stop and think. Subscribe for more royal commentary. Notification bell on. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
She's not there